Welcome to your class all about working with results. Today is meant to be a really high-level overview of the dashboard, so you have a sense of what tools are available and exactly how and when you would use them. What we're going to do today is really zip on through the dashboard, spend a little bit of time in theming, a little bit of time in reporting. Before we hop into that, let me introduce myself. So my name is Tila Beischer. I am the Customer Program Manager here at ThoughtExchange. So I run events just like this one to teach you all about working with your results, about designing really effective exchanges based on your strategic priorities. And I am acknowledging that I am joining from the ancestral and unceded lands of the Silks Okanagan people. So here's our agenda for today. We have about 30 minutes, about 20 minutes of content that we're going to run through in terms of training you up on using the dashboard. And then we're going to leave a little bit of space for questions at the end. We have a smaller group today online with us. And so what we can do is, instead of running an exchange at the end, I think we'll give everyone the opportunity to come off mute and ask any questions. So if you want to save your questions for the end or even pop them in the chat while we go, we can do that. So for those of you who are here today, you're here because likely you've run an exchange and you're ready to work with the results. And the place to do that in ThoughtExchange is called the Discover dashboard. This is where we store our visual data analytic tools so that you can really discover all of the details with all of these patented analysis tools that we have. When we think about working with results, where we really want to start is thinking about objectives. So we're going to talk a little bit about untangling what are the objectives and then which tool that you would choose based on what you want to get out of the results. Then we're going to hop into a sample dashboard and spend the rest of the time really just going through each of the features. So thinking about objectives and actionable insight, when you're working with your results, really the key or the reason why you run the exchange is because you want to get some sort of data out of it. Maybe you have run an exchange at the start of a meeting and you want to have the top thoughts be used to inform the meeting agenda. What do you want to talk about today? What's most important for our team to tackle together? You're going to use the top thoughts and go through and use those to really analyze and understand what's the priority for my group so that the time spent is better, or the time is better spent. And the real thing to keep in mind there is my objective with this exchange is having speed to better alignment with my team. Another type of objective that you might have, or a reason for running an exchange, a strategic priority that you're moving on, is maybe you're running a larger organization or even department-wide exchange where you want to do some strategic visioning, or you want to hear from everyone in the group about their feedback on a certain project or a certain culture piece that you're working on. And so if you've run an exchange that's a little bit bigger, you've probably invested in setting up some survey questions. Maybe you've thought about, how am I going to theme this, or what do the results need to look like? And so what you're really thinking is, I have this goal of understanding how this specific segment of my stakeholders feels about specific themes and topics. So you're already starting to understand, okay, I need to be able to break the data apart. I need to be able to parse it based on stakeholders. That would inform that ultimately what we're going to do is do a little bit of theming and then look at heat maps too. So you can see how, based on what I'm talking about as these outcomes or these objectives for the exchange, it informs which tools that you're going to end up using and what type of strategy that you're going to implement as you work with the results. And let's hop in and just move right on into a dashboard. While I'm doing that, I do just want to mention that when you're going through and really thinking about these objectives, is keeping action and actionable insights in mind. With every single exchange, you want to have something come from it. So you want to have the results inform some action, even if that is just running another exchange to dig in deeper, or that it's driving a conversation. When you're thinking about really getting buy-in over the long term from your stakeholder community or your organization to using ThoughtExchange, being able to tie the results to action and really demonstrate that through line will help you to maintain momentum over time. Let me go through. I'm going to show you some examples of what a dashboard might look like, and I'm going to first show you how to find one. So a really important thing to keep in mind when it comes to the dashboard is that every exchange has its own dashboard. So if you're running 3 different exchanges, you're going to have 3 different dashboards available to you to work with. The reporting is all isolated to that one dashboard, and there's no way to combine the information from different dashboards. So I have my data set from my what is important for me to know. I have my data set for our purpose and our vision. And what I'm going to do here is let's use this one here because it's a little bit larger. How can we best ensure that our new purpose is embodied in our actions and strategic plan? You're going to find Discover Dashboard just at the bottom of the Exchange, and it will open up as a new tab. So I'm curious, for those of you on the call, can you use the raise hand if you've never seen a dashboard before? I'll just wait a minute and watch. All right, so it looks like you've seen the dashboards before, so we'll zip through the tour pretty quickly. What I do really want to stress for you is that whenever you are in the dashboard by yourself, you can click on the help article button up at the top, and it will show you any help article related to the page that you're on. This is as if you had someone from ThoughtExchange walking you alongside the tools. You can see that there's an overview of what you're seeing. So lots of written content here, tips about how to work with it, and video tutorials as well. So lots of resources for you when you're going through this. But the overview page is where you land when you land in an exchange, and it breaks down who your participants are and then all of those survey questions too. So you can see a lot of different demographic questions that the sample one has. And you can see how many people participated and even their behaviors in the exchange. So how many participants actually shared a thought, how many of them rated thoughts too. This is really useful for you to get a bit of a quantitative sense of your participants. Who are they and what is the volume that they responded in? The next tool that I'm going to show you is a word cloud. This is really handy if you're ever doing a high level overview of the exchange. Oh, sorry, word cloud there. And so what this is going to show you is a really robust and organized understanding of what were the key priorities coming up in the exchange. The words are showing based on rating. So the larger the word, the higher that the thoughts that had that word in it were ultimately rated. So you can see these are the words that were the most important to my stakeholder group that I was reaching out to. And there's a lot of functionality to this beyond just the visual. You're able to actually download it. So if you wanted to download it and share it out as a way to say, hey, thanks for participating. Here's the word cloud. You're going to hear more from us soon. That's a really good way to wrap things up. You can also edit the word cloud. So you can click on edit and remove certain words. Maybe I want to take out way. Maybe I want to take out many, just kind of those filler or bonus words so that it's more relevant and focused too. The next that I'm going to show you here is thoughts. And thoughts really allows you to identify those overarching top priorities. Thoughts is an ordered list of the thoughts in the exchange, and they're sorted from highest rated to lowest rating. There is reporting and filtering functionality built in here. So if you've run an exchange and it's really important for you to know what are the top thoughts for my HR department versus what are the top thoughts for my teaching and learning department, if you ask that as a survey question, you can actually filter based on that. And that can give you some really strong reports, and you can just generate a report up here, create a PDF to share off. A couple things that I'm going to highlight about the thought report for you as you start working with your own results is to encourage that you do spend some time reading through the top 10, the top 20 thoughts in the exchange to see what is rising to the top before you work with the other tools. This is a great place to land to understand those really high level priorities in the exchange. You can see the star rating, you can see how many people interacted with each thought. And then over here, you get a general sense, a general understanding of how were people rating this on average. There's also the ability to reply to a thought. And I would encourage you all to spend some time thinking about how you can leverage this functionality to really demonstrate two-way communication and a two-way discussion. And let me share two examples of ways that I see this used. The first is if a client or a thought exchange leader has run an exchange asking, what are your questions about this topic? What they can often do is then use the thought comments here to respond to the questions that come up. So maybe, what are the questions about our new time off policy? Run the exchange, gather the questions, and then use the thoughts to actually respond to it, share the report out, and you've generated an FAQ for all those questions. The other way that people use this quite frequently is to address any misinformation or to respond to concerns that might come up. So a good example of this is a year ago, lots of people were running lots of exchanges about COVID-19. What are your concerns? What are your fears? What do we need to do to keep you safe? And they used the leader comments as a way to respond to any inaccurate data, to really have the organization's stance on what that issue was really clarified. And then participants are able to read them in the results or the reports ultimately. So those are thoughts. The next area that I'm going to show you is themes, and I'll show you the bars view first. So this is an opportunity for you to really organize your responses. Themes lets you organize and sort through the participant responses into groupings that everyone can understand. There's machine learning algorithms, and that is fantastic for those of you who are starting out with ThoughtExchange. Every single exchange is themed automatically, so you can get your data set in seconds. There's also really simple and easy to use manual tools so that you can create and adjust your themes to fit your goals. We're going to go through the themer, but I do want to show you a couple details as we're looking at this bar chart. So we're seeing our themes and our bars sorted here based on the AI theme. So basically the computer was looking for what are those keywords that are coming up again and again and again, and then it created the themes or the categories based on that. I'm seeing this sorted by star score, and I can also see it sorted by volume or frequency. So how high did people rate the thought with that word in it or that theme in it versus how often was it mentioned? Your frequency versus your agreement view, that can be a really interesting way to understand the data. The other thing that you are able to do is include themes in your slide deck and your ultimate reports too. It's a really valuable way for you to reflect the information back. I'm going to open up the theme tool now to show you how you would actually do this theming. So the first is that I want to point out, the first thing I want to point out is that up in the top right, when you are first in the theming tool, you will see a theme with me or a learn with me button that's going to walk you through the process. So I encourage you the first time that you do it, use that function, and it's going to have pop-ups on the page and tell you where to go and how to do each action. But a really simple place to start is to duplicate the AI themes and then edit those. So basically you're taking some of the work that was done with your AI themes and then you're editing it and going forward to make it a little bit more aligned or to add a little bit of clarity. So if I were going to do that, what I would do is click on theme set new, give it a name, and I'm going to have it just named after today's date. Class May 25th, copy existing. I'm going to copy the AI generated themes and then click on create here. That actually just duplicated the AI theme set, so I can now go ahead and edit it. So basically what it did was it set up a bit of a structure for me, and now I can hop in and edit. The way to do that is under Themes Manage. I can rename any of the theme categories. Sorry about the barking in the background. So rename any of these. I could delete them if I needed to. Maybe I know that this isn't actually one that has relevance to my project. I can delete it. It will undo any of the theming and I could add more. So maybe that's long-term impact. Click on add. Click OK. And then to actually go through and do the theming work, it's really simple. It's just to select the thought and then select the appropriate theme that you want to tag it with. So you could think of theming as a little bit of a tagging system. You're going through, you're choosing each thought, and then you're deciding what is the appropriate bucket or tag to pop it into. There's a few ways to make this faster. So there is the search function up at the top. So say I wanted to search for all of the thoughts with member in it. You can search for a word and it will show you all of the thoughts. You could batch select them. So select all and then pop them over into their appropriate category here. The other tool that you have are these organizational tools up at the top. So if I wanted to, I could select, I just want to show all of my unthemed thoughts. And then I see which ones that I need to go through and continue working on. I find that's a really helpful way to continue viewing the information as you're going. The other thing that you can do is to show your theme thoughts, and then you can filter by themes. So maybe I want to go through this certification and make sure that everything is in the right area. I then have the opportunity to read each of the thought and make sure that it is in the right area or the right theme category. So with theming, the last thing that I'm going to mention is that you can have various approaches to your theming. You can do a little bit of an emergent theming structure, which is what we did today. We looked at what topics are coming up, and then we did theming based on that. Or you could also find some value in doing strategic theming. So creating a theme set based on your objectives and then adding the thoughts into that accordingly. A really good example of that could be maybe creating a SWOT analysis. So you're running an exchange. What do we need to keep in mind as we start planning this project? And then you could theme the exchange into what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. So that's informing the project plan that you're putting together or the strategic plan that you're putting together. Another way that people will use this is, say you're running an exchange all about budget considerations and you already have the framework for what your budget might be. You could set up the themes to be those different pillars of budget. So maybe that is external vendors, maybe that is salary, raises, increases, marketing, etc. You then be able to theme the exchange and add the different thoughts into their appropriate category or pillar. When you're thinking of theming and what this action does for you is it informs the reports that you're ultimately able to create and how you can really share the results back. So that's theming. We'll move into questions in a little bit, but I do want to show you the two reports that are available for you. The first is Slides, and Slides launched last year, and I have heard that it has changed people's lives for how they are responding to exchanges. This is a slide deck that is automatically generated for you to share results back really quickly. And so this is a customizable summary presentation that covers some of the Discover dashboard's most popular analysis features. So you see what was the exchange that we ran. You can see a little bit of the overview here. You can also see that survey question breakdown, include the word cloud. You have the option to include your theming if you would like. And then you have the option just at the very end here to respond to the exchange. So you could customize this. Thanks for participating. We're taking what you shared today and using it to inform our professional development planning. Taking what you shared with us today and using it to inform our equity curriculum development. This is your opportunity for any time that you're going to be sharing the results of an exchange live with your stakeholders. Using Slides is a really great way to do so. You can present it from here, or you can download it and edit it in PowerPoint to add more to it if you would like. The other tool that's really useful is called Reports. And this is your way to share a report out or a summary of the exchange out asynchronously. So if your plan to respond to the exchange is we're going to run the exchange, we're going to work with the results, and then share a report out to all of our stakeholders 2 weeks after it closes, this is going to be the easiest way for you to do that. All you do is click on New, maybe give it a date or give it a name. Name it May 25th report, click on Create, and then you have the opportunity to customize what's included in your report. So you can respond to the exchange under Overview. You can decide if you want to include all of these survey questions here. You have the opportunity to embed your thoughts, so that thought report. You can even make sure that your leader comments are there. So if you've gone through the work of responding to the thoughts, make sure that you are including those. And then you have the option to include your theming work, either in bars or in tiles. And let's make sure that we choose our one from today, our theme set from today. So theme set May 25th. Perfect. I'm going to click on Save here so that we can show you exactly what that looks like. What you would then do is you have this link in the URL bar. You could copy that and then paste it into an email, paste into a Slack message, however you're going to share the results back with your stakeholder group. This is the visible report for them. So you can see they could dig through this on their own. They could see how many people get an understanding of all of these survey questions. They can read through all of the top thoughts. If you've written comments, they're going to appear right below here. And then down at the bottom here, we can see those themes as well. So what I love about this report and what I think you're going to find has the most impact is that you have the ability to be fully transparent with closing the loop in a really light and fast way. If you are going to create reports, what we usually recommend is that you're sending them out to whoever or however you invited people to participate in the exchange. Let me give you an example of that. If you invited people to participate live during a meeting, maybe at that next meeting, you're talking through the results using Slides, or you've shared out the report link to this page using email to whoever had attended that meeting. If you are running a very large exchange, maybe you're running a statewide exchange, which we have seen before, and using social media to promote it, that you are posting the links to the report on social media using the same channels of communication that you did to invite people. That way, you're being really effective about closing the loop with as many people as possible. So that is what we really wanted to cover today in our masterclass and in our time together. There are some features that we didn't touch on today because they're a little bit more granular. Differences, I'm going to encourage you to explore a little bit on your own in one of your exchanges. It really allows you to find common ground to counter polarization. It's showing us areas of agreement and disagreement in the exchange, what is polarizing, and also where are people coming together. You can see that's all visually demonstrated with the Venn diagram. And then heat maps lets you to do a little bit of comparative analysis. So you can start to get a sense of what's really important and what are the priorities for my different stakeholder groups. So for example, for my people who live in British Columbia versus my people who live in Ontario, what's more important to these different groups? All right, well, that is the tutorial component. What we're going to do now is move into a little bit of just a questions period. And we have such a small group today that what I thought we could do, we just had a few people drop off too, so it'll be an even smaller group. We have the opportunity to allow you to come off mute and ask questions if you would like to, or you can just add them into the chat. So if you would like to come off mute, you can use the raise hand function, and then I can click allow to talk. And if you just have questions that you'd like to pop into the chat, please do so, and we can make sure that we get your question responded to today. All right. And if we're a quieter group today, what we can do is get a little bit of bonus time back in your calendars. So you have 7 minutes extra back in your calendars today. We're going to send a follow-up with all of the resources that we talked about today. And do remember that the help site is built into the Discover dashboard, so you can always access information or reach out to your customer success manager for some further coaching. Thank you so much for spending this time today. I hope it was really valuable for you to learn a little bit more about working with your results and really gathering some value or finding some value in your exchange data. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you at our classes in June.